All right, we're going to spend some time talking about what's happening in the world of crypto. This is the 4th week running. As you can see on the screen, I'm going to quickly skim through a lot of articles that we have. But yeah, let's get started. So as you know, WazirX has been hacked. They have been posting updates on Twitter. They've stopped trading. This was last week. They have paused all deposits, withdrawals, and trading. They had opened up a bounty program which started off with getting 80 people registered. I think it went up to 195 odd people who registered saying that they would want to be part of the white hacker program, white hat hacker. And then they gave an update saying what are some of the options that they would want to do. They've clarified that the 230 million cyber attack is on the digital side, digital assets. The INR funds that are in their bank accounts are unaffected. WazirX platform was not breached, and the cyber attack was on the multi-sig wallet hosted outside of WazirX, which was through Liminal. 133 entries and day-to-day progress. Finally, I think 195 entries. Poll implementation, few ideas that they had. One was obviously recovering the stolen assets. Two was burning tokens with exchange profits over time. Third was create new use cases for the token. Fourth was airdrop from new projects. All of that. Finally, I think they posted some other options. I'll quickly walk through what were their key insights and learnings. It had 6 signatories, 5 by WazirX, 1 by Liminal. It required 3 signatures from 3 WazirX signers, followed by a 4th one from Liminal. All 3 signing devices were at 3 different locations with 3 different internet connections. They used respective hardware wallets. They all accessed Liminal through a bookmarked link or a Chrome shortcut app which was saved in their browser. This is one of the best practices you have in place for not clicking on any phishing link that lands up in your inbox or any other place. So you are supposed to use a link which you have saved yourself, right? This is another reason why they say don't go to Google and click on links, because it could be somebody just phishing with a malicious link there. And then obviously two-factor authentication is something that's very common. Interestingly, it says that the destination wallet address has to be previously added to the whitelisted address book on Liminal. So this is what they had also used. What seems to have happened is the malicious transaction was not sent to any of the destination addresses that were in the whitelisted address book, which means that something has gone wrong. They selected an address which was whitelisted. They signed it from 3 people. The 4th signature came from Liminal, but it turns out that the transaction ended up going to some random address. So I think right now both Liminal and WazirX are investigating at their own ends. Neither of them have taken accountability, and by the looks of what WazirX is saying, the issue seems to be on the Liminal side, right? And it says scenario 1 was all 3 WazirX signers received malicious transactions from Liminal, which was the breach of their infrastructure. The second scenario is possible that all 3 signers were compromised by malware on 3 devices. But it's important to note for this scenario to be possible, the attacker would also need to breach Liminal's infrastructure and firewall to obtain the 4th and final signature. So either it is that 3 different things have gone wrong at WazirX plus a 4th thing has gone wrong at Liminal, or it is something that has gone wrong at Liminal, because of which everything that has been given to WazirX to sign and transact did not need to be hacked, because the breach had happened on the Liminal side, and that's the nature of why this finally ended up going through, right? It says cyber attack bears the markings of infamous Lazarus group, approximately 45% of crypto assets, right? And it talks a little bit about blind signing. I did not know that blind signing was a thing when it comes to multi-sig wallets. It talks about how Ledger has some best practices to mitigate the risks associated with blind signing. I have a Ledger myself. and it does not have blind signing. And by blind signing, basically what I mean is, when you say yes to a transaction, you are not able to verify where you are sending it. The way Ledger typically works for an individual user is, whenever you connect it and whenever you're trying to transact, you can scan or add or copy paste an address that you want to send it to, which is usually on your mobile or your laptop. But before you verify and sign the transaction and confirm it on the hardware wallet, you are expected to look at the address that is reflected on screen on your hardware wallet and match it to the address that you are seeing on your mobile phone or your laptop. And that is the way one is supposed to manually verify. Apparently that's a feature that doesn't really exist on multi-sig transactions. You end up signing it blind, right? So that was an interesting insight for me. Quickly moving on, it talks about, they talk also about managing your funds after the cyber attack. They're saying 55% will be made available for trading, 45 will be converted to USDT or other equivalent tokens and locked. And this will be done as of 21st of July, 8:30 p.m. IST. That will be the value. I did see a tweet when somebody said we don't want fiat currencies, we don't want USDT, we want it in the same original crypto that we had. And I think I saw initial replying saying that's not really a feasible option, because values of crypto assets will go up and down. And for them to be able to make a plan and say, okay, this is the plan that we're going to stick to, they need to be able to put a fixed sort of number. And that is usually done. I've seen this happen in other places as well. It is usually done by pegging it to the market value of those assets at a given time. That time is usually the time when that hack or that other attack happened, right? So yeah, there are FAQs here. There's also another one which talks about what are FAQs around all of this. If you have money stuck here, crypto stuck here, you need to look at that, right? What I thought I will do, I've also heard from people I know who are obviously upset that something like this has happened. People are saying WazirX is liable. WazirX needs to make people whole. WazirX should draw down money from their books and to make people whole. And yeah, that got me thinking. I have a few thoughts on that, but before that I thought I'll spend a few minutes going through WazirX terms and conditions. I know all companies have their own types of terms and conditions. I think it's a good time to look at what WazirX has. It's dated as of 1st August 2023, so just about a year old. And it says, you hereby acknowledge and agree that WazirX is not a financial institution, bank, credit union, trust, hedge fund, broker, or investment or financial advisor, and is not subject to the same laws, regulations, directives, or requirements applicable to such persons, right? You acknowledge, agree that no oral written information or advice provided by WazirX will or shall constitute investment or financial advice. WazirX is merely a technology platform, right? Few other things. Release, you hereby release and forever discharge WazirX from and hereby waive and relinquish each and every past, present, future dispute, claim, controversy, demand, right, obligation, liability, action, and cause of action of every kind and nature that is arisen, blah 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 blah, right? There's a couple of more things. One, disclaimers. We make no warranty that the services will meet your requirements, will be available on an uninterrupted, timely, secure, or error-free basis, or will be accurate, reliable, free of viruses or other harmful code, complete, legal, or safe, right? Limitation on liability. To the maximum extent permitted by applicable law, in no event will WazirX and its affiliates be liable for any incidental, indirect, special, punitive, consequential, or similar damages or liabilities whatsoever, right? And finally it says, whatsoever arising out of or in connection with the services, any performance or non-performance of the services or any other product, service, or any other item provided or by or on behalf of WazirX, whether under, right? even if WazirX has been advised of the possibility of such damages, except to the extent of a full judicial determination that such damages were a result of WazirX's gross negligence, fraud, willful misconduct, or intentional violation of law. In no event will the liability of WazirX exceed the amount of fees paid by you to WazirX under this agreement in the 12-month period immediately preceding the event giving rise to the claim for liability. This kind of sounds like if you have bought crypto worth $1,00,000, you've paid 0.2 or whatever is the amount of fees. Maybe that's $200. So yeah, they are liable to only refunding you $200, presuming that you have in the last 12 months spent that amount, and those are the fees that they have collected on your behalf, right? So yeah, and finally, force majeure. And I do remember Nishal talking about force majeure. Says WazirX is not responsible for damages caused by delay or failure to perform undertakings, blah, blah, blah. Failures, outages of failures, power outages of failures, acts of God or the state's enemies, lawful acts of public authorities, any and all market movements, shifts of volatility, computer server or internet malfunctions, security breaches or cyber attacks, criminal attacks, delays or defaults caused by common carriers, acts of omission of third parties, blah, 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 blah. In the event of force majeure, WazirX is excused from any and all performance obligations, and this agreement shall be fully and conclusively at an end. So yeah, like all companies, I think they are fairly covered. Just wanted to call that out. Right. A lot of people are also not happy about the fact that this is the way that WazirX is planning to go about it, which is to socialize the loss so that they can resume operations. And I just want to share that this is probably the best way. This is probably the only way I have seen these happen and get resolved over time. So I'll spend a few minutes talking about some of the examples I have first-hand experience of, right? So in 2018, there was in March an RBI circular that went out, which basically said banks have about 90 days within which they have to stop operating and stop supporting Indian exchanges, right? As we all know, that circular got overturned later in March 2020 by the Supreme Court. And I have done a few webinars that have talked about this. But coming back, what happened was, I think this was around 9th of April, if my memory serves me right, when this circular came out. And as a result, there was a huge drop in public sentiment. Market prices of crypto on Indian exchanges dropped like 30-35% in a single evening. A lot of that was panic. And what ended up happening was I had at that time some funds, and I had some trades that I had scheduled to buy as prices go down. So that I had set up on an exchange called CoinSecure. So around 9th of April, I think the markets crashed. Some of my buy orders got filled. And I think a few days later, maybe around 13th of April, if I'm not wrong, CoinSecure got hacked, right? And I'm going to switch to that article. And basically it says, this one talks about 13th of April, so maybe around 12th. CoinSecure has filed an FIR with the cyber cell accusing its chief security officer, Amitabh Saxena, of siphoning off the money of the firm's wallet. It has about 2 lakh users, found that all bitcoins that were stored offline had vanished, found that the private keys were leaked online, leading to the hack, right? And yeah, founder and CEO Mohit Kalra told TOI that he suspects an insider's hand in this, right? This happened, and coming back to what happened at that point was CoinSecure basically told all of us as well that this seems to have happened. They said that prices would be frozen as of the time of the hack, which was I think around 12th or 13th of April. Interestingly, what had happened was, because of the crash and the fact that I had bought, those prices had rebounded. I think by August of that year, they said that they wanted us to submit some documents, sign some documents, basically say that once CoinSecure returns the funds which were worth an X amount at the time of the hack, they will be no longer liable for anything else. From what I remember hearing, I think the CEO ended up selling some of his personal properties in Delhi. At that time, I think the overall loss wasn't as big. I think it was maybe about 15, 20, 25 crore rupees, which I do know, or I have heard, the CEO ended up paying out of pocket, right? But it took a few months. And very interestingly, what ended up happening was by the time I got my money back, I'd actually made money on it because my buy order had been a few days before the hack. By the time the hack happened, prices had actually gone up, and I made, I think, about a 20% profit on it, right? But that is how I have seen it happen. There was another one. There was btc-e, which you should know about. This was again an international one. I had some funds on this. This got frozen. And I still remember seeing this image when I went to btc-e. It says this domain has been seized by the FBI. This was done because I believe the guy who ran this was a Russian national, and he was running this crypto exchange. It didn't really have any great KYC norms, and I think the FBI had enough proof it was being used for money laundering. And even this exchange, I can tell you, did whatever they can to make their customers whole. I remember having some funds on this, and then once they got hacked, they basically gave us tokens which were like 1:1 in exchange for those that we had lost. And then I think over time they managed to convert it to dollars, or in some form they managed to make us whole. So I remember not really losing money, even when it came to this crypto exchange halfway across the world, which was shut down by the FBI for money laundering, right? So I would just say to people who are finding it difficult to deal with WazirX, that you need to give it time, and you need to just hang in there, right? Knowing Nishal, knowing everything that I know about WazirX, I am fairly confident that they will do what is needed to be done to make their customers whole. And unfortunately for everyone, the only way is either you decide to take a loss now, with an IOU from their side for the remaining part, and then resume services, let the exchange function, let the exchange make money, and then be on a path to repay you back, or you just shut it down because there's nothing that you can do, in which everything that is there, the remaining 55% of assets, will get divvied up. And by the time it comes to everyone, it might be less than 55%, because there will be a lot of people with lawyers and others who will need to deduct their fees from this thing. I also want to talk very, very briefly about Mt. Gox. This actually used to be one of the biggest exchanges. This is before my time. I never really got started here, but by the time I heard about Mt. Gox, I realized that this was, I think, the world's largest at one point. They lost about 850,000 bitcoins, 8.5 lakh bitcoins. Apparently, their hot wallet was compromised for years, and they never figured out what went wrong. That said, I think it's been about 10 years, 2014 to 2024. Only about now are they seeing our people who lost crypto back in the day are seeing some form of recovery. And there is an article which talks about the latest development, which is about 141,000 Bitcoin. Creditors are finally starting to receive their reimbursements. About 10 years later, instead of 850,000, about 141, which is 1/6 of that, is being distributed. Bitcoin has definitely gone up more than 6 times. So all of these people, from a fiat point of view for sure, are going to be earning, are getting Bitcoin, which is worth a lot more now than it was when they lost it. But this is how it goes. In this case, it's taken about 10 years. Anyway, coming back to some other news, Coinbase, I found this interesting. They ended up selling some user assets, and the reason that they said was, they said this is unclaimed property. because the user had not logged in for multiple years, and they decided to get it sold by calling it unclaimed property. So I thought that was very interesting. We should all make sure that wherever we have crypto, we are logging in, and like the truism says, right? Not your keys, not your coins. Please keep that in mind. I have taken it to heart. I have learned the hard way, even after knowing not your keys, not your coins, because we all are human, we all get lazy. But episodes like WazirX and others remind us that we need to self custody. The other thing that's important is, again, easier said than done. Don't invest more than what you can afford to lose. I think a lot of people have put in a lot of money on WazirX. I don't fault them, I understand it. But this is one of the reasons why people say don't put in more than what you can afford to lose, because the space is still rife with a lot of these risks. And the best way to mitigate those risks is to do self custody. Right? Coming to a few other articles, Trump, I believe a couple of days ago, in his he attended Bitcoin 24 at Nashville, and he has unveiled plans to make a strategic national Bitcoin stockpile if elected, which basically means something equivalent of a reserve currency. That's what people are hoping he means. That said, I think we've all seen enough politicians say a lot of things leading up to elections. So I would not be surprised if this is just one of those things that politicians say to get support. I think only time will tell. But it'll be interesting if different countries go down this path. That's long been one of the dreams of Bitcoin maximalists. And I think if there is a bit of a war or a race for holding crypto or Bitcoin as a reserve currency, I think it will really give a fillip to the prices. But yeah, let's see how that happens. Another article talks about India releasing its crypto policy stance. It's a very interesting article. It says India plans to put out a discussion paper outlining its policy stance on cryptocurrencies before September. It does not suggest a commitment to regulating crypto through legislation, but just a discussion paper outlining their point of view. So yeah, I think we are still a few years away from India having like really clear laid out rules. But yeah, let's see how we move towards that. Another article talks about a firm called Marathon Digital, which bought about $100 million worth of Bitcoin to put it on its balance sheet. So what MicroStrategy has been doing for years, it seems that there are other people also other companies starting to put some serious money behind this. Proton, a lot of people might know Proton as an extremely secure email service provider. Article says it's always been a cryptography company, and it's done secure mail, VPN storage services, is now launching its crypto product. It's going to be a wallet, which will be a self-custody wallet. Even if Proton is compromised or stops operating, users can still recover, transfer them to another wallet. That's because of the private key. And comparatively, if a centralized exchange collapses, your crypto assets are gone. Proton wallet is open source and has been audited by a third-party firm. So this centralized exchange collapse is what we are seeing in WazirX's case, right? It's available right now for people who are paying about $40 a month or about $360 a year. And interestingly, Proton wallet is integrated with the Proton ecosystem, which has more than 100 million accounts, which means you can actually, like sending email from one person to another, you can send money through Proton wallets to other people having Proton email addresses, which is very interesting. I think it links back to what I remember hearing Musk talk about when it comes to PayPal and X.com and all of that. I think his objective was that how do you make money sending money as easy as sending a message, right? Anyway, Proton seems to be doing this. It's interesting. Ferrari last year opened up by accepting crypto in the US in last October, partnership with BitPay. They accepted Bitcoin, Ether, and USD. Now they are extending the program to Europe as well to support dealers in better addressing the evolving needs of its clients. We talked about this the last time. It's an interesting strategy. PayPal has adopted this, and Ferrari seems to be adopting this, which is how do you be the first off the block, amongst the first, to go and get the lion's share or a giant share of the newfound wealth that people are going to be able to create through crypto. And some of those could be people wanting to spend on a Ferrari as a dream car. And this is one way that Ferrari can capture that money for selling their cars. Ethereum, last week we were expecting Ethereum ETFs to go live this week. That seems to have happened. I believe on the first day, about $1 billion worth of shares were traded between the 9 ETFs, which is smaller than the 4.6 billion that was done for Bitcoin. But it's still a great start for first day ETFs. Several of the funds are finishing the day amongst the top 50 highest traded US ETF debuts of all time. Right? So that's an interesting point as well. And finally, just going to talk about FTX. Overall, if you remember, there was supposed to be an $8 billion hole in their balance sheet when they went bust November 22. And they finally seem to have settled with the CFTC for about $12.7 billion, of which $4 billion are going to be disgorgement fees, whereas the remaining $8.7 billion will be paid in restitution fees, so that all customers and creditors are able to get their money back, right? Again, from whatever I remember hearing, what if they get it now or in the next few months, chances are the dollar value of what they get, even if it was converted from, say, the crypto value when FTX imploded, the dollar value today will be a lot higher because the market is on a higher level right now as compared to November 22, right? So these were a lot of the updates that I had, and I thought I'll spend some time talking about this. Yeah, and I'll see you guys next time.